go.
Thank you very much. We had a busy day. We're dealing with lots of different people and lots of different things. We had some terrific people in today and trying to solve some of the problems that are going on in the country and outside of the country. We're doing very well with respect to
Where's this part?
Other countries really behaving on taking the criminals that they sent into our country, and we're getting them out. These are some of the worst people on earth, and they're getting out and they're being accepted back in their countries, as you've heard, without exception. So a lot of people thought that was not going to happen, but it's happening very full force.
It was obviously going to happen. Of course they're going to do that.
And we're getting some very, very dangerous people out of our country, which is very important.
Yeah.
Will, perhaps we'll go through the first one, please.
Yes, sir. So earlier today, before the press came in, you signed a commission appointing Chris Wright to be your next Secretary of Energy. We have another commission prepared for your signature, sir.
This is that?
Doug Collins to be Secretary of the VA. Doug Collins of Georgia.
Two very good men.
Well, they run out of books? Bro, they got him signing the Constitution.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Next up, in light of numerous actions taken by a number of bodies of the United Nations, which exhibit a deep anti-American bias, we have an executive order prepared for your attention that would withdraw the United States from the UN Human Rights Council, would withdraw the United States from the UNRWA, which is a refugee organization, and would also review American involvement in UNESCO, which has also exhibited anti-American bias. More generally, the executive order calls for a review of American involvement and funding in the UN in light of the wild disparities in levels of funding among different countries that, as you've expressed previously, is deeply unfair to the United States.
So I've always felt that the UN has tremendous potential. It's not living up to that potential right now. It really isn't.
It's crazy how long it took for this shit to happen. How long we support people that fucking hate us.
Hasn't for a long time.
I hate this shit.
There are great hopes for it.
Get out. Yeah, true.
It's not being well run, to be honest, and they're not doing the job. A lot of these conflicts that we're working on should be settled, or at least we should have some help in settling them. We never seem to get help. That should be the primary purpose of the UN, the United Nations. And again, it's got great potential, and based on the potential, we'll continue to go along with it, but they got to get their act together.
What would they need to do, sir, to get their act together?
Well, they got to be fair to countries that deserve fairness. They have some countries, as you know, that are outliers, that are very bad, and they're being almost preferred as countries to those that do their job and are doing a good job, and they have to really, they're going to end up losing. A lot of countries, they're going to end up losing.
Somebody says, bro, U.S. sends weapons to a country to fuck people up. At least they could do is send money to the organizations that help the wounded that get fucked with the weapons. This is my viewpoint. Stop sending the weapons. Stop sending the aid. Yep. You're halfway there. No, I agree. Like, yeah, no, that's what I think most people believe.
Losing their credibility like other organizations, and then they're going to be nothing. The potential of the United Nations, and not everybody agrees with me on this, the potential of the United Nations is fantastic, if properly run. So we'll see what happens.
How much money are you willing to take away from them?
Well, we're taking away a little bit, but we're not looking to take away money. This is so important that we're really, as you know, the United Nations is largely funded by us. But and
I'm pretty sure we sell a bunch of weapons. Well, I mean, if a country buys a weapon from us, like, that doesn't make any sense. So, like, you're saying that, like, if we sell a bomb or we sell a weapon to another country, now we have to give that country money when they use the weapon? How does that make any sense? Yeah, I don't think so, man. That's crazy. Yeah, no, absolutely not. Yeah, do we have to pay for their funerals too? Exactly. It's ridiculous.
It should be funded by everybody, but we're disproportionate, as we always seem to be. But it's something that if it ever lived up to the potential,
And no, we didn't see this.
in 10 minutes it would make up the difference. That's the kind of power it could have. Right now it doesn't have that power.
Next, sir, this is a national security presidential memorandum that seeks to impose maximum pressure on the government of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Many of these provisions are similar to actions that your administration took during your first administration. The basic idea here is to have every...
Was Iran the country that recently lowered the age of consent? I don't know if it was or not. It was Iraq? Oh, okay. It was Iraq.
Department and agencies, or many departments and agencies in your government attempt to sanction and control Iranian activities, particularly relating to the Iranian nuclear program and the Iranian export of terrorism through support of various proxy groups abroad. And the intent here is to give you all of the possible tools to, I'd say, engage with the Iranian government to ensure that going forward they're less of a malign actor on the world stage.
So this is one that I'm torn about. Everybody wants me to sign it. I'll do that. It's very tough on Iran. It's what we had before. We would have never had the problem. You would have never had October 7th. We would have never had the problem had the election gone a different way, which it should have. But this one, I think, more than made up for it. I think we're doing things, and it shows that more than made up for it, much more historic. The Iran situation, hopefully, I'm going to sign it, but hopefully we're not going to have to use it very much. We will see whether or not...
A lot of people in Iraq love you, by the way. A lot of things, y'all got to understand, like, it's the same thing as in China. Like, I'm critical of, like, China's government. Like, I know a lot of you guys that live in these countries are like, yeah, like, it's the same as, like, us in the U.S. Like, there's probably people that are mad at, like, people in the U.S. They're like, well, why do you guys keep bombing, like, our country? Like, well, we don't want to bomb you. I didn't vote for that. Fuck that. Like, I don't have anything to do with that. I know that most guys that probably live in these other places that are watching, yeah, the government's not, like, especially in a lot of these places, the government is not the people.
We can arrange or work out a deal with Iran, and everybody can live together, and maybe that's possible, and maybe it's not possible. So I'm signing this, and I'm unhappy to do it, but I really have not so much choice because we have to be strong and firm, and I hope that it's not going to have to be used in any great measure at all. It'd be great if we could have a Middle East and maybe a world at total peace. Right now, you don't have that. When I left, you had peace all over the world.
He can't make the Middle East have peace. If he does, that means he's the Antichrist. And so that's actually, yeah, you can't have that happen.
World, and now you have the world is blowing up. As you know, Bibi is coming in to see me later. Others are coming in to see me. We'll see what we can do. But I'm signing this, and hopefully it will be a document which won't be very important, will hardly have to be used.
So what kind of deal would you be prepared to
Well,
make?
we're going to see. I mean, we're going to see. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. With me, it's very simple. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. We don't want to be tough on Iran. We don't want to be tough on anybody, but they just can't have a nuclear weapon.
Mr. President, are you going to engage in conversations with your counterpart in Iran?
I would.
Do you want to block the sale of Iranian oil to other nations?
Well, we have the right to do that, and that's what I did before, and they had no money. They wouldn't have had the money for Hamas or Hezbollah or anybody else.
How's he the Antichrist for that? Oh, there's a number of like indicators that, like, in the Bible and Revelations that they say the Antichrist is. Obama was a pretty good contender for being the Antichrist, by the way. He filled a lot of the quotas, and you know, I could see why people were concerned. He was. And it ended up not happening. He ended up not being the Antichrist. But, yeah.
It could have been solved. This thing, it just, if things went the way they should have, this would have been over long ago.
Yeah.
But it's not over.
How close do you think Iran is to developing nuclear weapons?
I think they're close. I think they're close. They're too close. But again, you could go back 4 years. I would have said they would have had it during this intervening period. But they're pretty close, Peter.
And why say that you're unhappy to sign it if it's Iran and their proxies who have threatened to retaliate against you and your team by killing you guys for taking out Soleimani?
Well, they haven't
That's a big question.
done that, and that would be a terrible thing for them to do. Not because of me. If they did that, they would be obliterated. That'd be the end. I've left instructions. If they
So basically, this was an idea in the Cold War. It was called a dead hand, where basically if we bombed Russia or Russia bombed us, there would be an automatic activator that would just let loose all of the nuclear bombs to the other country. Yeah, the dead man switch. So basically, Trump gave them instructions if they kill him, what to do.
do it, they get obliterated. There won't be anything left. And they shouldn't be able to do it. And Biden should have said that, but he never did. I don't know why, lack of intelligence, perhaps. But he never said it. If that happens to a leader or close to a leader, frankly, if you had other people involved also, you would call for total obliteration of a state that did it. That would include Iran. So I'm signing this, and it's a very powerful document, but hopefully we're not going to have to use it.
Mr. President, if the Prime Minister today were to ask your help in striking at Iran's nuclear facilities to prevent the kind of progress towards a nuclear weapon, would you give him the green light? Would it, either to do it himself or for the U.S. to participate with him?
I don't know that that's what he's going to be asking for. I have no idea that it is. You're telling me. We're going to have a pretty long meeting. We're going to be discussing a lot of things, not only that, but a lot of things. And I'll let you know if the time comes to let you know. But right now, that's not.
He's obviously not going to say
something
that.
I can discuss.
Yeah, why would he say that?
You just said when you said if they do it, they get obliterated. Just to be clear, you're talking about if Iran made an attempt on your life.
Yeah, that would be called total obliteration. And I can't imagine they do that. It should have been stated by Biden, but he didn't state it because he had no clue, as you know, as everybody
What
knows.
is your vision actually for relationship
Do you
with
have anything
Iran?
else?
No, that's all we have.
My vision for
For a
what?
relationship with Iran. And
It was yesterday. Yeah, I
I'd
didn't
love
get a
to
chance to
have a
cover
good
it.
relationship with
I didn't watch
everybody.
it.
They can't have a nuclear weapon. That was my only. It was the only thing that was very important. They can't have a nuclear weapon. Beyond that, it would be very tough if they insist on doing that. They have some of their leadership, I can tell you right now, and maybe you know it, maybe you don't, but there are many people at the top ranks of Iran that do not want to have a nuclear weapon just for that very reason.
Yeah, I bet. Yep, I fucking bet. And Hitler failed because he didn't have a dead man switch. I think that Hitler failed for a lot of reasons. Yeah, that's not one thing. But either way, I feel like that's kind of not a surprise at all. And not a surprise in any capacity, but it's kind of crazy that he's already making plans in case people try to kill him. Yeah, Hitler didn't have any nukes. Yeah, as far as I know, he didn't. I mean, they might have been close. I assume that they were. That's why we got all their people, right? But still. And yeah, Hitler failed because he got too cocky and pushed too far. I mean, my understanding, I'm not like an expert in this, but like I feel like he probably failed because of the aggression against Russia. Like him trying to attack Russia and then doing it in the winter and then like all their people dying. Like I think that's really what made him lose. Like that was the big one. Yeah, the Russian winter. Like that's a massive one. So, I mean, like obviously the U.S. played a role, but like, I mean, they kind of own gold themselves. I mean, that's what, I mean, Napoleon did the same thing, right? I mean, so it's kind of crazy that he would have made that same mistake, but it was just stupid. He got overextended. He failed because he land leased. Yeah, the timing and his ego, maybe, I don't know. But like that's just that's all I remember. But yeah.
In focus, Trump border czar Tom Homan. Look, Tom, I have so many questions. First of all, if they're shouting and helping these people get away with bullhorns, how is that legal to get help from the people in the streets? I know they can protest, but that's not what they're doing.
You're exactly right. When they come to they cross the line of impediment, and that's why I'm working very close, starting this morning with Department of Justice, and where do they cross that line of impediment? So they may find themselves in a pair of handcuffs very soon.
This is the whole thing.
So working with DOJ on that, get some legal guidance on that. I'm not an attorney. I know what SecOps is about. I know what crossing that line is, but getting DOJ back up on that. So it's something we're looking at right now, Harris. We're not going to tolerate it anymore. This is not a game. When we show up these sites, this is a dangerous job for the men and women of ICE and Border Patrol and all the DOJ agencies. To have that type of interference puts our officers at great risk. Not only the officers, it puts the aliens at great risk because anything can happen when we take our eyes off the goal here. So we're addressing that immediately today. I'm addressing OPSEC today, Operation Security, how these leaks are happening.
Thank you. Well, it's people that are actively trying to make it harder for the police to do their job because they think that the police are bad or something.
We've already identified how this operation got leaked. I'll deal with that today.
Interesting.
So, it's all about controlling the message.
Yeah.
I try to be transparent. I promise American people will be
transparent in operations.
But it's obvious we can't be having all these different news outlets out there with us on various raids. Bill Melugin, great guy, but we got a lot of OPSEC concerns we're dealing with right now. But the leak, who we identified today, we'll deal with that today. But it's not a game. I want to put it out to whether it's Governor Phil Murphy or the rest of the people that who want to game this. It's not a joke. This is serious business, and they need to stop or we won't prosecute them through the Department of Justice.
Yeah, that's what they need to do, especially the people that are talking about hiding illegals in their house. Yeah, absolutely. Do you think these people helping illegals care about the law? Yeah, I think they do. I think that they dramatically, they're protesting because of the law. They do care about the law a lot. They'll care if you arrest them. Yeah, exactly. Like the people like this, that they do it because they think they can get away with it. The moment that you stop letting people get away with this shit is the moment that it stops happening. It's actually that simple. The reason why people do stuff like that is because they can.
I know our audience was paying attention when that agent or officer told our reporter Bill Melugin there have been some intel leaks. Those are very specific. So I understand what you're saying. You mentioned my state's governor, Phil Murphy. Yeah, he's trying to walk back the comments that he made about possibly, I guess it would be aiding and abetting if you're keeping somebody on your property. But we'll see what happens.
It is aiding and abetting. It absolutely is. Yeah, I totally support going after him. Thoughts on ICE agents going into schools and removing undocumented students? Totally support it. Get them out. I'm not I'm not the kind of person you can emotionally blackmail. Yeah, they shouldn't be here. They should have never been here.
He says that's not what's happening with somebody he thought was on his property or said was. I do want to ask you this because I've heard you say, Tom, that you expect more violence. And you were talking specifically on the border, but why would that be?
Well, look, President Trump is, promises made, promises kept, right? He said he's going to secure the border. The numbers are down significantly. Look, and we talk about between the port of views, I know...
Trying to use kids in schools as some moral blackmail is some bullshit. I just think people are fed up in general with the amount of moral blackmail and emotional blackmail that every single one of these conversations devolves into. And I think that's why people respect guys like this who just literally don't give a fuck about it. Yeah, I'm so tired of it. Yeah, if the kid's not supposed to be here, they shouldn't be here. Get them the fuck out. Absolutely. Problem solved.
Port early numbers down about 67%. Actually, between the ports of entry, because that takes into account port of entries. Between the ports of entry, we're down closer to 87%. Yeah. As we lock that border down, we're taking money out of the pockets of the criminal cartels, right? They've made record amounts of money in the last 4 years, smuggling aliens, sex trafficking women and children, moving drugs across the border. As we secure that border, their business is going to drop, which means billions of dollars less they make. They're not going to go away quietly. So I truly expect violence to increase on the southern border just because of who they are. That's why President Trump has designated them a terrorist organization, because they are. They've killed more Americans than every terrorist organization in the world combined. They're not going to go away quietly. So we're going to expect more violence on the border. But let me get back to ensure what Phil Murphy says when he goes out there and does this, plays this game. If the governor can do it, he sends a message to the whole world. They can do it too. again, putting our officers at grave risk. It has to stop, or they will.
No, it does. You should do more videos like those kick streamers going after pedos, but you kick migrant children out of public schools. So the reason why I don't make the videos and talk about the kick streamers that try to catch pedos is that a lot of the kick streamers that do that end up breaking laws, and they actually make it easier for those people to get away. And they basically interfere with ongoing investigations, and they invalidate investigations for content. And so, like, I understand what your point is, and you're like, oh, why aren't you focusing on, like, these people and not the other people? But the reason why is that I think that those people, their goal is not to necessarily stop pedos, it's to make content. Like, basically, like, that's, like, the catching these weird people, that's the tail. The content is the dog. Now, you might think that it's the other way around, but it is not. They're looking for content. They're engagement farming. Yeah, exactly. They're exploiting it. And also, I respect the ones that work with law enforcement, and they try to do it the right way. So don't get me wrong. It's not like I don't think that it matters at all. But I think that the majority of them that do this stuff are doing it in a way that ends up actively hurting the cause. Do you think Vitality does it right? Vitaly or whatever his name is? I don't know enough about it to have an opinion. I don't want to pass judgment on it.
Be prosecuted. I'm working very closely with the Department of Justice to hold people accountable. This stuff ends today.
Well, look, I had Voters' Voices on the program live yesterday and was talking with people about what the first 16, at that point, now 17 days of this has been like. Here's what one voter...
And somebody, do you support the predator poachers? They don't really attack them, they just catch them. No, I don't support them in cases where they're not cooperating and working with law enforcement. So I completely support them in cases where they're working with law enforcement. I completely do not support them in cases where they're not working with law enforcement. Because in the cases where they don't work with law enforcement, they end up enabling these predators to keep going because they don't follow the proper protocol for actually putting somebody in jail. It's vigilante justice. Yeah, it's a net negative. And so, like, I'm thinking of the big picture. Like, everybody likes the vindication of, like, we got you, we're going to beat you up. I don't really care about that because this guy gets beat up and then he just goes home and does the same thing again. Like, my perspective is, like, how do you solve this problem and make it stop happening? And that's where I focus on. That's what I think about. And so as long as you're working with law enforcement in a way that's congruent with, like, what their goals are, then I totally support it.
Told us.
Does that make sense?
I go to Chicago and I see the immigration crisis at the forefront in front of my school on the corners. I don't think we should wait until unpopular mayors like Brandon Johnson lose their elections. Their number one goal should be to be understood, and that's using their bully pulpit, that's advocating for the people that pay tax dollars to them. It's always, whose humanity are you looking out for, and why not us that we're paying so many tax dollars?
And that young man, one of the Democrats we had on the panel who voted for Donald Trump this time around. Your reaction?
Look, I think the American people, they President Trump mandates immigration. The border security, immigration enforcement was number one, and we're going to keep President Trump's promise. I looked at the numbers this morning. ICE has already arrested just short of 12,000 people in this country. Vast majority are
needs to be way more than that. They want to get rid of everybody. They got to do way more than that.
Of criminals, public safety threats. And that's what we're trying to do. And for any mayor or governor who doesn't want public safety threats removed from the communities, I find it hard to believe that. But we're going to do it, with or without them. If they're not going to help, get out of the way. But don't cross that line. Do not impede our operations. Do not knowingly conceal or harbor an illegal alien, because we will seek prosecution. We're going to do what the President promised American people. We're going to make our community safer by targeting those who are in the country illegally that have criminal record or a public safety threat. That's what we're doing. But if you force us into the community and not let us get the bad guy into jail, that's going to put the community at risk. It means
that's AOE damage.
More collateral arrest means more non-criminals being arrested, because when we find the bad guy, which we will, there's going to be others with them, others that may not be a criminal priority, but we're not going to instruct ICE to walk away from them like the Biden administration did. We're going to enforce immigration law.
I tell you, Tom Homan, you have those gang members.
It seems hard to understand why people would obstruct activities that would make streets safer. No, it's not. It's actually really easy to understand. The reason why they do it is because they are stupid and they are ideologically captured by something that doesn't make sense. That's why.
And illegals on the run with reports of people trying to move around the country now to get away from operations that they know
really
are coming and maybe tipping each other off. We'll see. We'll cover the stem to stern, especially as you find out what happened with those intel leaks. Thank you.
Look, Harris, we will not be happy to every single TDA member. TDA is going to be eradicated from this country. I will not rest until every one of them are in prison or at Gitmo. That's a promise I'm making to the American people.
Tom Homan, the border czar for President Trump, on it. Thank you very much.
Damn. Well, there it is. And, yeah, one of the heads seems to have a mortal wound. Well, I don't know. Oh, this is the fucking Antichrist stuff? No, guys, come on, calm down on that. And so they fantasize about combating a non-existent fascist regime. I think that there's a lot of people, and this is the same reason why, like, a lot of these... Like, one of the things that I noticed with a lot of the, what do you call it? A lot of the protesters for a lot of these, like, really kind of, like, weird luxury causes is that they're upper middle class, affluent, often white people. And I think that these are people that live a life of, like, absolute and complete, like, privilege. And I think they realize that and they know that about themselves. And they're looking for a way that they can make themselves, like, I think that they have a guilt for it. And so they're looking for a way that they can make themselves victims.